Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Brighton Town Board, July 27, 2022. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. Of course, we are continuing to meet remotely due to the COVID pandemic and pursuant to the governor's emergency order permitting remote meetings. I do want to mention that the town has COVID rapid test kits available to the public right here in the town hall building, in the library, and in the police department. And I want to encourage people, if you're like me, you know people that are getting COVID again. And certainly before meetings, before family gatherings, very seriously think about taking a test. We have them available. We will begin the open forum portion of the meeting shortly, when members of the public will have the opportunity to share their comments with the town board. If you're watching us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, or on the Spectrum Cable Access channel, you'll have to log into Zoom in order to access the open forum. There are detailed instructions for doing so on the Town of Brighton webpage. That is www.townofbrighton.org. As always, we continue to make our meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters. And tonight, our interpreters are Allie and Jesse. Thank you both very much for being here and making it possible for us to be accessible to the entire community. Just as a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, as well as all the materials we're looking at in making decisions tonight, are available on the Town of Brighton webpage. Again, www.townofbrighton.org. We'll start the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Deputy Police Chief, Mike Desane, is here with us tonight. Chief Cathaldi is out of town. And Deputy Chief Desane knew RPD officer Anthony Mazurkowitz, who was killed in the line of duty last Thursday, and has asked if he could say just a few words about Officer Mazurkowitz. Chief?
Thank you, Town Supervisor, everyone, for the time. Tony and I worked together over 20 years ago when I was assigned to the Rochester's Drug Task Force. A true cop's cop, true professional. Did a great job for the city of Rochester. Tonight, on behalf of Chief Cathaldi, all the men and women of the Brighton Police Department, we send our deepest condolences to the family of Rochester Police Officer Tony Mazurkowitz. Also, our partners in law enforcement, the men and women of the Rochester Police Department. Our thoughts and prayers also go out to Tony's partner that night of his death, Rochester Police Officer Sino Sang, who is recovering at home from his injuries. Thank you, Town Supervisor.
Thank you, Chief. And I echo your condolences to the family, the colleagues, and the friends of Officer Mazurkowitz. I also want to express my deep respect for the men and women of the Brighton Police Department, who themselves are absolutely true professionals. They do their best every single day to protect and serve the people of the town of Brighton. And for myself, and I know for my colleagues on the board and for the entire community, we are grateful for that work. We thank you and each and every member of the Brighton Police Department. Last Thursday night, July 21st, the town of Brighton hosted an open house at Town Hall, where SWBR and Ballard and King, the town's consulting team that is reviewing options for a proposed community center, presented the results of the community survey that nearly 1,000 community members responded to, which was really an extraordinary number, along with initial findings on 3 potential options for a new community center here in Brighton. Those options that were reviewed by the consulting team include the potential purchase and renovation of the Family Jubilee Church on South Clinton Avenue near Tops Plaza, a collaboration with the JCC under which the town could lease space at the JCC on Edgewood Avenue, and the construction of a new community center facility on Westfall Road in Buckland Park. We had a wonderful turnout for that presentation, and we continue to seek input from as many community members as possible. So to that end, I want to encourage everyone to watch the video of the community center presentation. It's on the town's webpage at www.townofbrighton.org/928 all caps community dash recreation dash center dash feasibility dash. Once you've had a chance to watch the video of the presentation and the question and answer from the from that evening's presentation, please share your feedback with us. And there is a link for feedback at that same link where the video is located. Our goal is to develop a community center that will be truly that, a facility that is a go-to home for everyone here in our community for a number of recreational, social, and other needs. Comments will be open through at least August 5th, based on the results of the survey and the review of those 3 options and the feedback that we receive. Our consultants will be preparing a final report evaluating those options and making recommendations to the town board. After that report is issued, the town board will consider those recommendations and make a decision concerning the best option for the community. We'll now go to the open forum portion of our meeting. The open forum is an opportunity to address the town board, for the public to address the town board about matters, whether or not they're on the agenda tonight. We may not respond to your questions, and that's particularly true if they relate to matters that are not before the town board. But I assure you that we listen and we take your input seriously. If you'd like to address the board during the open forum, as I mentioned before, you must join this meeting on Zoom if you haven't already done so. Please use the raised hand function in Zoom if you do want to speak during the open forum. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to address the board, and I will advise you when you have 30 seconds left. Please address your comments to the board, not to other speakers. Please do not use the open forum to make personal attacks of any kind. Our goal here tonight and during the open forum held at all of our town board meetings is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your input. So at this time, the open forum will begin, and I will ask Bridget to unmute anyone in order with their hands raised to give them the opportunity to speak during the open forum. Bridget, is there anyone wishing to speak during the open forum tonight?
I am not seeing any hands at this point.
I see Vicky Reyna's hand up.
Okay, great. And she can unmute herself and share video if she'd like.
And I believe the next person with their hand up will be Seth Holmes.
Hi.
Vicky, go ahead.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of members of the Evans Farm neighborhood, and some of my other neighbors are here as well. We had submitted to the town board a document as well as the planning board, kind of articulating our desires through the Tooney application for Brookside for the entrance at Idlewood to be closed. And at last week's planning board meeting, Ken Gordon stated that the planning board can't legally require that condition to be included. And so what I'm here to ask, and he deferred to the town board, that the town board would have to give permission for the roadway to be closed. So my understanding is the distinction that the condition could be on the entrance, but the town board may have to approve that stub road off of Evans, off of Idlewood to be closed. So my question is what to do? The residents of Evans Farm, 270 neighbors have petitioned for this. What is the legal, is that legally accurate? And what are the legal requirements for us to petition the town board to close that stub road? Is anyone able to provide guidance regarding that?
I was not at the planning board meeting. The town board does not have any matter before us relating to this project. The Brookside proposals are pending before the planning board and not the town board.
So maybe, is it possible to just answer, does the town board have the authority to close roads if they choose to?
I'm going to defer on that to the town attorney if he chooses, if he's in a position to answer that question.
Sure, Bill. As I said at the planning board meeting, the planning board does not have authority to abandon a town right-of-way. Only the town board would have the authority to abandon a town right-of-way. Just the town board would be the only body to abandon any property owned by the town of Brighton.
So just the right of way, not the entrance. How do we get, before, this might be back to Bill, how do we get business as members of the town before the town board to formally request them to abandon the right of way?
Normally matters come to the town board through one of our town board committees.
So as a resident, I need to be a member of the committee to...
No, not a member. The committee meetings are open to the public. I will say that we did receive the materials you submitted tonight. We will be formally including them in the agenda of, in the record of tonight's meeting. The planning board public hearings relating to the Brookside School remain open, and it will be, at least at this time, back on the planning board agenda for consideration at their August 17th meeting.
So we'll continue to advocate and petition for the planning board to make a condition to close the entrance. But to loop back around, that it seems like it would be separate business for the town to agree to abandon the right of way.
That
How
would
do
be
we get
separate.
that before the town board? If it
I-
becomes
I-
the town board's responsibility to do that.
Ken?
If I, Bill, yeah, thanks. So my understanding, Ms. Rena, is that the concerns you've expressed and the concerns expressed by your neighbors primarily have to do with traffic in the neighborhood. And generally speaking, when neighborhoods have traffic safety issues, those go into the Public Safety Committee, and a number of measures can be discussed and considered at the Public Safety Committee. Some of those include traffic calming measures such as speed humps and the like. So I would suggest maybe that's where you and your group would start. And I believe that Mr. Werner is the chair of that committee. And maybe I know that he will give his committee report later, but perhaps if we could know when the next Public Safety Committee meeting is, that would be helpful.
The next public safety meeting is September 13 at 8:00 a.m.
September 13?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. You're right. I got to double check. The August 9th, excuse me.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the wrong calendar. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, could you say that date one more time? August.
It's the second Tuesday of every month. So that would be August the 9th at 8:00 a.m. And there'll be a follow-up meeting on the 13th, as it were.
Okay. I'll defer if I have any remaining time to my neighbors that are also present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe Seth Holmes was the next person to have his hand up.
That's correct.
Mr. Holmes, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for having this meeting and giving us time to speak to all of you tonight. I sort of learned a lot in the last 3 minutes with Vicky's question that I don't want to belabor the point too much, but I do want to make the point to the full town board, and certainly we will bring it to the Public Safety Committee at the August 9th meeting. But we just wanted to talk about the fact that this is a fairly large change for our neighborhood, as Vicky described. The Brookside property has two entrances, one onto Winton Road and the other into the Idlewood neighborhood. To remind the board, the neighborhood, like many in Brighton, does not have any sidewalks and is, a street where everybody walks around on the street and walks to bus stops, kids in the morning. And we see an influx of over 300 vehicle trips a day due to the Montessori school. That we enjoy the Montessori school as neighbors, but unfortunately we don't really enjoy their traffic, particularly when it's driving past our kids walking to buses on narrow streets with snowbanks in the wintertime. It's just an accident waiting to happen. Thankfully, there hasn't been any, which the traffic study done by CUNY illustrated that to us, but it's like, do we want to be reactive and wait for a lot of accidents to happen and then do something about it, or get ahead of it and make some positive change in the neighborhood? The school wasn't originally designed to have that many individual passenger cars going in and out of that entrance. It was meant for school buses and kids walking to school. That's what they were built together, the Evans Farm neighborhood and that school, but they are no longer functioning equally together. We appreciate that the traffic study that looked at this, that was done by CUNY, indicated there would be additional traffic added, and we do appreciate that. But unfortunately, there's a lot of voices saying, well, that's fine, then we're good. It's not adding traffic, but that's not fine for all the 270 people that have signed onto this. The existing condition is an issue, and we're trying to help fix that, particularly when we have this narrow roadway of 19 feet of asphalt with concrete gutters on either side, that unfortunately the traffic report is trying to call that as part of the roadway and call it a 24-foot wide road, which I personally find a gross exaggeration. And it's trying to say that we're through street and a minor collector of a road when it's clearly not that. You know, those gutters actually turn off into
30 seconds, Mr. Holmes.
understood into you know, culverts and things. It's not really part of the roadway. And so we're here to ask the board to take this into their attention. And obviously it sounds like we have to go through the Public Safety Committee to do that. And so thanks for the time, and I'll cede my time to some of my neighbors who I see on the line as well.
Thank you. I believe
next-
go ahead, Bridget, I'm sorry.
Sorry, our next speaker would be Peg Warwick, followed by Aaron Reyna.
Thank you. Go ahead, please. Peg, welcome.
Thank you. I tried to start my video, but it wouldn't let me, so I'll just talk.
Okay.
I think safety is certainly a concern, but section 217-5 of the code refers to not inflicting on the neighborhood that is hazardous, inconvenient, or incongruent with the use of the road. And I think it's all of those things, having this amount of traffic. Another section of the code, and I can't find the number in my notes right now, indicates that public buildings, you know, town-owned, what have you, and schools do not need to apply for conditional use permits for many of the cases a private organization would. And I believe, I don't remember seeing posted signs that the school did not have to apply for a permit for the increase in traffic when they started renting to Norman Howard, and then a number of years later renting to Montessori. And so those increases, I think, were in fact inconvenient and incongruent with our use of Idlewood Road with pedestrians and what have you, but we couldn't do anything about it. So I have an issue with using that as a precedent. And therefore, I also think we need to close the access, entrance, whatever you call it, the stub road, the right of way that lets traffic go from Idlewood into the Brookside School once it changes hands and is no longer a public entity. And if the safety board's the way to do that, that sounds not quite right to me. It sounds like there's more to it, but we can certainly talk to them next week and see if they can bring that up to the town board officially. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, let me be clear, the Public Safety Committee itself does not have the power to abandon a town road. But as Mr. Gordon said, what is being described here is concern with traffic, and the Public Safety Committee is the place where issues with traffic and potential remedies are addressed. So,
But even
thank
if the
you.
potential remedy is closing the entrance to Brookside School, can the Public Safety Committee come back and request that the town board do that?
That would be, the Public Safety Committee is the first place
Okay,
where traffic safety related issues
I understand.
would be
Thank you very
presented.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bridget, our next speaker.
Yes, would be Aaron Reyna.
Thank you, Aaron. Good evening.
Hey, good evening. I can't start my video either.
All right.
So thank you, members of the town board, town clerk, and town supervisor for the opportunity to speak tonight. The last time I addressed this board was 3 years ago this week on July 24th, 2019, when I rose on behalf of Evans Farm neighborhood to discuss traffic concerns throughout the neighborhood, specifically on Idlewood Road. The minutes don't reflect the written submission I provided that evening, though email communications from the following week reflect the conversations about traffic speeds, patterns, and safety with neighborhood leaders, then Police Chief Henderson, current Police Chief Cathaldi, and current Deputy Police Chief Desane. This resulted in the placement of traffic monitoring equipment. Our conversations have continued individually with you as town representatives in various forums, along with Chief Cathaldi. Our neighborhood, specifically the Idlewood corridor, was designed for 1940s traffic realities. Over 75 years ago, when Brookside was conceptualized and initiated during Brighton's suburban growth, a portion of Evans Farm legally prevented my family from living here alongside other Italians, Poles, and Blacks. Over a decade later, those legalities were changed to reflect values of equality and access. Justice is slow, though thankfully we now boast a massively diverse neighborhood. Though different, our traffic and roadway expectations have changed throughout the same years. It's past time our roadways reflected today's values rather than those of an era when Daddy knew best. At last week's planning board meeting, the temporary chair of the Brookside agenda items expressed a desire to do better to help improve our community. This is the equivalent of asking for help. As this is not human resource nor privileged information warranting an executive session, I'm asking you tonight to support clarity and open government. Please support us by instructing our town's lawyer to provide potential planning conditions to facilitate that board member's request in a public setting so they may be considered by our planning board prior to any votes on these planning matters. On a related topic, a neighbor residing on Fairhill Drive directly across the creek
30 seconds, please.
expressed concern about sewer maintenance after claiming recurring sewer issues in 2020 and 2022. On behalf of the neighborhood, we hope the town will consider the impact of an additional 100+ transient year-round residents upon our neighborhood sewer system. These additional families and neighbors, just like the rest of us, will be using commodes, hand washing stations, showers, and dining facilities, increasing sewer use beyond Brookside's use since its last use in 1987. Our neighbors deserve to be aware and to understand sewer maintenance and how the town will avoid future problems by adjusting to this increased use. Thank you for your
Please.
thoughtful consideration and service to the town.
Our next speaker is Judy Messere.
Judy, good evening. Welcome.
Hi, I have 2 points that I want to make. One kind of piggybacks on things that have already been said. But the Brookside property is changing hands from public ownership to private ownership. And this seems like an appropriate time to address the longstanding issue in my neighborhood of about the traffic from tenants. The new owners will be receiving income from renting out portions of the old school building, and it seems to me that they, not Evans Farms residents, should bear the burden of the traffic that they're generating. Presently, there are 2 entrances to the old Brookside School on the Winton Road side of the building, and there are 2 entrances on the south side of the building adjacent to where a proposed service road will end. The new owners have applied to the planning board for a conditional use permit, and I think the planning board has listened to our concerns. And it does have the authority, according to Town Code Section 217-4, it has the authority to regulate, and I quote, the location and number of vehicle access points when issuing a conditional use permit. However, there seems to be a legal technicality because the stub road that leads to the Brookside property is owned by the town of Brighton. So I'm asking for the town board to grant the planning board the authority to close the road should they decide that it's appropriate to add that condition to the conditional use permit. The second point that I'd like to make is to kind of address the elephant in the room. Specifically, I'm concerned about property values, just the way neighbors were concerned when Cambridge Place was constructed along Winton Road. That development backs onto a portion of our neighborhood, but there's no entrance through Evans Farm. So it really is not viewed as part of our neighborhood these days, after it's been there for a while. Now, a 60 student and perhaps eventually 120 student dormitory is going to be built on the edge of the neighborhood. Think about it, 60 teenage boys living on the property 24/7 throughout the year. I have some reservations about that. I have some concerns for my property value, and think about how you would feel if suddenly there was a 60 student dormitory in your neighborhood. More
30
importantly,
seconds, please.
how would you feel? How would a potential buyer feel about a 60 student dormitory? Closing the Idlewood entrance would have a psychological effect of delineating the edge of our neighborhood, as with Cambridge Place. Planting a few trees along the property line and the effect on the neighborhood is minimized. The new residential school complex will be viewed as a development on Winton Road and not as an imposition on our neighborhood. So I think closing the Idlewood entrance has implications for maintaining property values in the neighborhood. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bridget, next speaker, please.
At this time, we do not have anybody else with raised hands.
No, I do see Ms. Gelfan's
Yeah,
hand
thank you.
raised.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand. I also can't keep my video going. So, hi, here I am in the dark. I actually wasn't sure if I was going to speak at all today. I think this is a little bit early on to bring information because I haven't gathered a lot. I noticed that Gennady, however, is here too, and I'm sure that it's for the same reason. A number of us in the town have been discussing issues, and Aaron brought it up too, that we've been having with the sewers, and question how often the sewers are being checked. I understand that it's once every 6 years is what I was told, and question whether that's often enough. We've had a number, I know on my street, I'm on Kimbark, I've spoken to a number of my neighbors who have had sewer issues over the years, and on town property, not on their own personal property. We had on my street, I had a major, we had to close down the street for a week or so while they fixed our sewers. And initially the town had said it was not the town's issue, it was ours. It took 6 months before they changed their mind and fixed it. We had a lot of expenses as a result, and the town is refusing to reimburse us. But that's only one issue that I think in the future, the town should be prepared to hear from more residents, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Hearing none, then we will continue on with the business portion of tonight's meeting. I want to thank everybody that did come and speak. And I'll ask Councilmember Warner for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second, Christine.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye, and I'll just mention, since you don't hear her name called, Councilmember Wilt was unable to be here tonight because of airplane travel delays, the story that we've been hearing, the concern that we've been hearing so often. So that is why Councilmember Wilt couldn't be with us tonight. Next, we will go to public hearings. We have two public hearings tonight. One concerns, and the first one concerns a proposed modification to the incentive zoning approval previously given for the Jewish Senior Life Independent Living Facility, and the second relates to a proposed local law entitled the 2022 Second Temporary Amendment to the Noise Control Law. We will handle speakers from the public the same way as we did during the open forum. If there are people who would like to speak during tonight's public hearing after the presentation is made by Jewish Senior Life, they will be able to do so. But first, I will ask the clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given for this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor, the notice was in the July 5th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you, Dan. I will then turn it over to Jerry Goldman, counsel for Jewish Senior Life. I believe you have other people that will be speaking and doing a screen share to get some more information about this project on the screen. But let me I declare the public hearing to be open if I didn't already do that, and I'll turn it over to you, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, and good evening, members of the board, members of the public. My name is Jerry Goldman. I'm the attorney and agent for Jewish Senior Life. And we're here this evening to address our requests for municipal approvals for the enhancement of the facilities on Lot 2 of the campus, which house the Summit Independent Living and Woke Manor Assisted Living. Subject property is on Summit Circle Drive. It is north of Meridian Center Boulevard and west of South Winton Road. That's my cue to introduce the rest of the team. With us this evening on the presentation is Matt Tomlinson, who's a project engineer for Marathon Engineering. Scott Fitzgerald from Perkins Eastman Architecture will also be presenting. And we have a number of others available to answer any questions that the board may have. Our proposed development is basically to add 2 4-story buildings containing 35 independent dwelling units at the front. You see the matter circling those buildings right now. The existing Summit Woke building is at the rear of the site. And in addition to adding the 2 buildings, we are going to be adding a 5,500 square foot multi-purpose room theater addition. And that addition will essentially replace, will be a relocation, if you will, from the existing facility to allow for additional dining facilities. In addition to that, we will have an addition to the building, which provides a 2,000 square foot fitness addition and 2 maintenance buildings to be located on the site. The current intention is to construct the first building, the one in blue on the right on the bottom, the first 35 unit building. And as that is fully approved and absorbed, then we would proceed with the second 35 unit building. And give a few minutes of zoning background on this. In 1996, the town board rezoned this property from RLB zoning to RHD2 residential high density, which is the appropriate zoning for these types of facilities. That was an incentive zoning approval, which was made, and the incentive zoning approval was tailored for the particular project at that time. Our 24 to 24 and a half acre lot that we have here certainly has more than enough capacity to be able to accommodate the expansion that we are talking about. The proposed incentives that we are seeking is not a use incentive because we have the use already established under code, but to deal with a lot of the dimensional requirements of the particular use that we are proposing. One is building height. At the recommendation of some at the town, we went with a 4-story building as opposed to a 3-story building to minimize disturbance and maximize green space on the site. So the number of stories is 4. The building height would be designed at 50 feet instead of 40 feet required by code. In addition, we have a pickleball court, which is proposed for the site, and we're proposing a 10-foot high fence for that. Emergency standby generators will be going in our side yard, where normally they have to be in the rear yard. And the accessory buildings are larger than what typically are allowed. Typically, what's allowed is 250 feet. We're proposing 1,400 square feet, and those buildings will be 24 feet in height instead of the 16 feet in height that the code would call out. There are a number of incentives which are granted in 1996, so we are also going to be looking to modify. One deals with density. We are within the code density, but we're not within the former incentive zoning density. So we're looking to increase to 9.6 units per acre, where the code would allow for an RHD2 district 14 units per acre. In addition, We're looking for 236 dwelling units total at the full build out of this. The incentive zoning initially said we were capped at 201, but again, RHD2 code would have a density of 342. And in addition, the front setback was called out to be 300 feet from Meridian Center Boulevard, whereas the code would typically require 40 feet. And we're looking to be still 228 feet away from the away from Meridian Center Boulevard. This proposal has been reviewed by the town board on a number of occasions and the Public Works Committee, and we have made formal application in March, refined that in April. Town board determined that to be worthy of further consideration. We went forward with that and went to the town planning board, who reviewed the proposal. One thing I didn't mention, which I'm remiss for saying, is that in an incentive zoning application, we not only weigh incentives, but we also consider amenities, and that is amenities offered by the developer in exchange for the incentives. After discussion with the town in terms of what the town's public works needs were, there were none that were identified in this immediate area, but the extension of the sidewalk network in the town as we move north toward the 12 Corners and move toward Buckland Park was of interest to the town. And the town is considering, and our application does call for, the extension of the existing sidewalk going from the 590 Expressway, which stops about halfway to Westfall Road, to be extended the full distance of Westfall Road. And in addition, the applicant project sponsor would be constructing a road going toward Buckland Park, pretty much half of the way up to Buckland Park itself.
Jerry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said it would be building a road. I think you meant a sidewalk.
Sidewalk. I'm sorry. I appreciate the clarification.
I don't want to get anybody.
True. We have enough roads. We don't have enough sidewalk. So I apologize for the error, and we will be extending the sidewalk, which now currently stops halfway north on Winton Road to the Westfall intersection to where the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance has committed to put sidewalks, and then JSL is also committing to construct additional sidewalks on Westfall Road going toward Buckland Park as well. The process that we have undergone is set forth in town code, and the town board did determine this to be worthy of further consideration, which took us next to the town planning board, which at their May 18th meeting provided a report in support of this incentive zoning application. In addition to that, this matter has been referred to the Monroe County Planning Department as required under state law. Monroe County Planning has returned the application with comments. They typically don't formally recommend approval or disapproval, but the comments that they have are technical in nature, and we have no problem complying with those. So with that, I am going to turn this over to the project engineers and then to the project architects. And I imagine the first thing to do is criticize me for stepping over a lot of their content, but hopefully we will make a cogent presentation and be able to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And just before Mr. Tomlinson, who I think is your next speaker, I do want to say we have the public hearing tonight on this amendment. I do not anticipate that the town board will be taking action on this matter tonight. We will listen, have the opportunity to review the information you're providing to us, and at a future meeting, which could be our meeting in 2 weeks, then the board will be in a position to consider whether to take action.
And
So
we
in case there are people waiting to see what we do with this, I just wanted to make sure people knew that will not happen tonight.
Right. We appreciate the board's consideration. We understand that there are, that there are some procedural pieces which have to be addressed. There's no resolution which was posted in advance of the meeting. So to that extent, we're prepared to see this be tabled. We're hopeful that the public hearing will be closed this evening and that the board will be fully ready to proceed at hopefully your first August meeting. With that, Matthew.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Or Jerry, Matt Tomlinson with Marathon Engineering. Jerry kind of gave the overview of the project. I just wanted to talk through a couple of items before I turn it over to the architect. On the site plan that you're looking at here, Jerry mentioned the location of all of the proposed additions and buildings. It is intended to phase the project from a site construction standpoint, but we are pursuing approvals, as Jerry mentioned, for the entirety of the project in the amendment. It's intended to build Villa 1 here on the east side first, followed by Villa 2 on the second side, and that will be driven by market demand, but given the healthy waiting list that JSL currently has, it's anticipated that will follow in relatively short order. The multi-purpose room, fitness addition, and one of the maintenance buildings is also intended to be included in that first phase, with the second maintenance building constructed as part of phase 2. We do have some visualization graphics that kind of show the comparison of existing versus proposed, which will help the board understand how the driveway modifications are going to be shifted in order to accommodate the proposed development. But essentially, I'll draw with my cursor here, the existing loop road through this area comes here. And so what we're proposing to do is to extend Summit Circle Drive and the other driveways around those to create or keep the vehicular circulation primarily outside of the building and residence area, consistent with the existing configurations, or consistent with the existing traffic patterns, but making room for generous green spaces and landscaped areas buffering the proposed additions. Jerry mentioned the 4 stories of the buildings, and the primary reason for that is there are 3 stories of units with a couple of ground floor units, but primarily to create parking spaces internal to the building, numbering 35 in each building to give each unit 1 covered parking space. Right now, the existing JSL has several garages around the perimeter of the buildings, but it's quite a distance walk for the residents, and there's a desire to create those covered parking spaces inside the same enclosure that has an ancillary benefit to residents in that, and to the site as a whole, in that we're able to reduce the amount of uncovered parking spaces and thereby reducing the amount of impervious and lot coverage that would be necessary in order to provide those spaces. Right now, for the 176 existing units, residential units on the site, there's a total of 191 parking spaces, with 32 of those being covered. What we are proposing in adding the 70 units to the existing unit count, we will be increasing the spaces to 287, which is an increase of 96 parking spaces. But again, 70 of those will be covered within the new buildings. So we do think that there's a significant benefit and a good justification for the request for the increase in building height and number of stories there. The only other site comments that I wanted to mention is that we had taken a look at the previous seeker determination and findings going back to the previous approvals that Jerry mentioned, and done a pretty thorough comparison of anticipated impacts that was submitted along with the site plan and visuals for the board's consideration. I don't want to walk through all of those now, but if there are specific questions on those by the board, of course, we're happy to expand on those further. So with that, I want to turn it over to Scott to talk a little bit. Scott Fitzgerald is project architect, to talk a little bit about the elevations. And then we can walk through the visuals that were requested to be prepared from an impact standpoint from offsite. So with that, I'll turn it over to Scott.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you, Jerry, for the introduction here. I think maybe the best thing would be to show, the elevations. Thank you. So the primary goal on this project is to refresh and expand the campus, the Summit independent living properties that we have here. From an architectural style standpoint, we were looking to tie the campus together, not just the Summit property, but connecting to the broader Jewish Senior Life campus with the greenhouses that were built 5 years ago that are up towards Winton Road. They're on the Winton Road side of the property. And that was sort of a refresh of the architectural style on the campus. And this is trying to be sympathetic both to that and to the existing Summit property and Summit buildings and residential buildings that these new buildings are connecting to. So stylistically, we've got sort of the darker brown color is representative of brick that is more in maybe than what is showing on the screen, is a little oranger than what's showing there, which is consistent with the existing Summit resident buildings and community space. Above that, we have lap siding, fiber cement in this case. Looks similar to a painted wood lap siding, as well as a white board and batten sort of panel product. And that is consistent. Both of those materials are consistent with the greenhouses that wrap the tower on the Winton Road side of the campus. As Matt mentioned, we've tucked the parking under the building, and we explained the reasons for that, and trying to reduce our impervious cover. That does push our building up a little bit in height. We made great efforts to try and keep the perceived and actual height of this building as low as possible. But that was one of the challenges that we've been dealing with on the project here. Relative to the other buildings on the site, where the incentive zoning is asking for this to be a 50-foot height limit. Zoning is 40 feet, so we're exceeding that. Actually, the existing buildings exceed that slightly. They're at about 41 feet, the existing Summit buildings. However, some of the other buildings around the property are significantly higher. The greenhouse cottages are up at about 55 feet. The tower itself is 77 feet to the penthouse, about 70 feet to the main roof. So we feel like we're staying within the context of the other buildings on the campus. And we've, these buildings are located to the south. There's away from the highway and really are fairly separated from any space off of the site. So maybe we could look at the views, which is, I believe, yeah, perfect. Thank you. So this is this is sort of an aerial of the existing conditions on the site. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the new building being added in. They're connect to the south end of each of the existing resident buildings. And you can see the road realignment that Matt was talking about, sort of being pulled forward on the site. And that connects in with the existing road work that was done as part of the greenhouse expansion on the campus. Looking from the north, this is looking out from over the highway, looking back in the other direction. You can see the two villa buildings are, yep, thank you, there and there, There are also the smaller expansions to the community space. You can see there's the multi-purpose room there, and the fitness is just barely visible over the roof line. In that case, the two expansions on the existing community space, you can see are in character and scale with the existing buildings, and actually have a lower roof line than the existing building. And one other thing to point out on this view, if you look to the right, we've added 2 garages. We're actually looking at opportunities to even reduce the height of that. Those are effectively not visible from the highway due to the heavy tree line that rings the edge of the site there. We cut some views from some other locations. This is on Winton Road, pretty far south, just over basically just after you come over the canal. You can see the Meridian Center office park in the foreground. The buildings are barely going to be visible. This is showing existing conditions, and then yeah, you can see that they just kind of popped up there in the distance and sort of blend in with the context of the rest of the buildings on the site. This is looking from the ball fields. So this is a little more prominent from this side. You can see the buildings start to show up, but there's some vegetation in front of it. But this is probably the most prominent view of the buildings. From 390, you can see, again, if we go to the next slide, you can see the buildings sort of pop up there in the distance. You can see the tower in the far left is much closer to the highway and has a much higher presence. And then this is a view looking back, or if you were traveling east on the highway, and you will see that there's very little that shows on that view. And then if you go farther to the north and look back over the site, I don't even believe you can see the project at all. No, it's not visible from this view at all. You can see the tower sticking up over the tree line, but the new buildings will not be visible. They're below the tree line.
Scott, I just want to jump in. There was a request for us to analyze whether or not up in Buckland Park there was visibility of the project through the tree line, and that's the reason for this view that was cut.
Yes, thank you, Matt. Similarly, looking south from, I'm sorry, is this Westfall? Yes, from Westfall, you can see that the buildings are not visible in this view either. And then traveling eastbound on the highway, moving a little more towards the center, the project is, you can see that heavy tree line. The project isn't, the expansion is not visible. And then I think this is maybe not last. So this is, you can see these are the newer greenhouses or on Winton Road. And you can see the buildings when we go to the next view. They sort of pop up on the far left there. And then at the intersection of Meridian Center and the entrance to the campus here on Summit Circle Drive, you can see the very edge of the building sort of popping out behind the trees. So we're doing everything we can to maintain the existing vegetation on the site and allowing that to continue to screen the entrance. And this is from the canal or the bike lane, the bike trail. And again, barely visible, sort of peeking over the top of the trees. And that is it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. This is Jerry again. Just as a reminder, assuming the incentive zoning approval is granted, there will be continuing reviews on the part of the planning board for site plan approval and the architectural review board for building elevations. The process does not end at the town board consideration. Does anyone else on our team have anything to present at this point? I think we're open for any questions that the board may have, and we can address whatever comments the board may want us to from any members of the public.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is, since this is a public hearing, I'd like to start with any comments that members of the public may have. Again, if there is any member of the public that would like to speak during the public hearing on this proposed amendment to the incentive zoning approval for Jewish Senior Life, to please raise their hand and you will have the opportunity to speak. I'll give everybody a moment to do that, but I'll ask Bridget, is there anyone at this point with their hand raised wishing to speak during this public hearing?
There's no one at this moment.
Okay. Then, Chris, I think that was at you that was starting to ask a question that I interrupted you on. Sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you, Bill. By all means, let's let the public go first. Jerry, have you done any kind of survey of the residents of the summit there in terms of how this is going to affect their living situation and their views and so forth?
This has been a collaborative effort on the part of JSL with their existing residents of the summit. I mean, the one thing they don't want to do, of course, is to compromise anything with those residents. I think the indications that we have is that they're welcoming of having additional people. They are also welcoming the idea of having our multi-purpose room / theater and fitness facility addition, which will allow, interestingly enough, when the whole project started, the only kitchen that was on the premises was a kosher kitchen, but there has been desire on the part of the residents to provide for non-kosher offerings as well. So the displacement of the theater multi-purpose room, which basically can hold no more than 30 some odd people, is going to be to allow for the reinstitution of separate kitchens for a kosher kitchen and regular kitchen. So I can say with confidence that the residents of the summit are in favor of this. I don't know if anyone else on the Zoom on our team can elaborate on that or wants to.
Yeah, I mean, I can just add that, with the addition of, potentially 70 new units, there had to be an expansion of the community spaces, additional dining venues and options. But it's also this whole process of the expansion is allowing JSL to update and refresh the community spaces that are used by all the residents, the existing residents, as well as the future residents. So it's providing the residents with more dining options, as Jerry mentioned, a larger multi-purpose room, a theater, which they don't have now, classroom space, and refresh of a lot of program elements that they do have, art room and other spaces like that. So this has been, I think from the residents' standpoint, this is really a great opportunity for them to get an expansion and a refresh on the spaces that they use day in and day out.
Thanks, Scott.
Are there any members of the public, Bridget, with their hands up?
No one has raised a hand.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments from members of the town board?
Just one quick question. Jerry, did the Architectural Review Board review the renderings of the new buildings as compared to the existing buildings at the project site?
Not to this point. The normal sequence and the normal protocol that we have at the town is that the incentive zoning goes first, the Architectural Review Board goes second. The town code does require referral to the planning board, but does not speak to going to the ARB.
Okay, Thank you.
But you do anticipate going to the ARB.
As I said earlier, we anticipate that we will be going to the planning board for site plan approval and to the ARB for review on the elevations, correct?
And Jason, thank you for asking that question, because my, at least one question parallels on that, which is while the applicant has noted that the look and feel and some of the materials used on these buildings are quite similar to those used out front in the greenhouse, they are a rather different look and feel to the existing Summit buildings. And therefore, I do think the Architectural Review Board's review is particularly important here.
Yes, I would fully agree with you. We're trying to tie together the existing architecture with some of the newer components on the campus. So it's something that we welcome the Architectural Review Board's input on how successful we have been at doing that, and if they have things that they would like to see tweaked or worked on, we're open to that communication.
And as you mentioned, there will be seeker review, which is one of the things that will have to occur and have to be completed by the lead agency before any action can be taken here.
Right. I'll take a moment with that just to say that we have provided a substantial amount of seeker documentation, as Matt indicated, to establish consistency with the prior environmental review, which occurred in 1996. And the town board had taken action about a month ago to declare their intent to be lead agency. And my understanding is that the 30 days for any objection to that designation has passed. And now the town board is fully invested as lead agency for the conduct of the environmental review.
That's my understanding as well, yes. Again, are there any questions or comments either from members of the public or from members of the town board for the record of this public hearing before the public hearing is closed? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing on the proposed amendment to the incentive zoning approvals for Jewish Senior Life, their independent living facility. I declare the public hearing to be closed. The town board, again, will not take any action tonight and could take action as soon as our next meeting, which would be August 10th. Thank you to everybody that made the presentation this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on then to the next public hearing, which is a public hearing on a proposed local law entitled the 2022 Second Temporary Amendment to the Noise Control Law. That proposed local law would allow night work to be done on a paving project, a pavement maintenance project on East River Road from Kendrick Road to West Henrietta Road. And I'll ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor, the notice was in the July 19th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you, Dan. Then I declare this public hearing to be open. I will ask our Highway Superintendent and Commissioner of Public Works, Mike Guyon, to briefly describe this project for us.
Thank you, Supervisor. The Monroe County DOT is doing some highway maintenance work on the highway from Kendrick Circle up to West Henrietta Road on East River Road. Due to the amount of traffic, the volumes of traffic, they've asked to do that work along that stretch of East River Road during nighttime hours. They would like to work between the hours of 7:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. They anticipate it'll take 3 days to complete the work. They're going to be using what we would call a micro pave. It's just a very, very thin pavement material that they overlay the pavement with. They hope to be done by the end of July.
Good. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this proposed local law? Anyone from the board? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing closed. And you have a motion to approve the proposed local law. Chris, I'll ask you to make that motion.
Bill, with respect to the amendment of the proposed local law entitled 2022 Second Temporary Amendment to Noise Control Law to allow night work along during the East River Road pavement maintenance project from Kendrick Road to West Henrietta Road, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second. Thank you, Jason. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. In communications tonight, can I have a motion to receive and file those, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have 3 items. The first one is from the Deputy Director of Public Safety and County Emergency Manager, Timothy Henry, relating to participation in the Monroe County Hazard Mitigation Plan and the appointment of a principal and alternate representative to the committee, the county committee involved in that hazard mitigation plan. I know I spoke with Chief Cathaldi about this. I think I spoke with Mike Guyon about this. I don't know, they've asked that we make these appointments by the 29th, but I'm not sure we currently have any appointments in this group, and can either Mike or Mike shed any light on this matter?
Town Supervisor, I haven't had any communication with the chief in regards to this yet.
Thanks. Mike, do you?
I haven't had a lot of communication either, Bill. I just need to follow up on it.
All right. If you could do that, what I would suggest we do then is, if in fact County Emergency Management needs those appointments to be made, and it wasn't entirely clear to me whether it's primarily a law enforcement or primarily a sort of public works oriented. I think it's probably primarily a law enforcement related matter, given that it is coming out of the public safety. But there certainly may be some public works sorts of components, since the hazards that would be mitigated may either be man-made and public safety in nature, or potentially weather and more in the public works realm. So what I'm going to suggest is that Chief, maybe either you or Chief Cathaldi can speak with Mr. Henry. After doing so, discuss with me. We can make some tentative appointments that would be affirmed by the town board at our August 10th.
Great.
Supervisor?
Yes.
Yeah, previously it was Chad Roscoe from our office participated in this, and so did Tim Keith.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so if you're, I mean, I'd be glad to participate in this along with Chad.
Okay.
And that would maintain some consistency in the program. So I you know, that could work out well.
Okay.
We looked at some FEMA stuff. I think this is just an update to the existing plan.
Yeah, I think that's right. And was that the sense, do you know, that most of the participating agencies have sort of public works involvement rather than public safety driven?
Yeah, I think we did this about 5 years ago, and I do believe that was the case, Bill.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I'm not aware of any previous appointment town supervisor to that position.
Nor was the chief. So it sounds like that's probably an appropriate way to go. But we can confirm that before Friday, make the appointments, and then confirm them at the next meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
We also have communication from Karsi Secaria, and I apologize if I missed that name, asking about a crosswalk light on the crosswalk from the Westfall trailhead to the Brickyard Trail heading across to the trail system in Buckland Park. I think all of us who cross that street at that location regularly, as I do, know that although the law says vehicles must stop for people in the right-of-way, it is the exception rather than the rule that people actually do stop. I always appreciate it when they do. I give them a wave, they smile, I smile, and the day's a little bit better. But it seems not only do people not know that, but even with the flashing beacons that have been installed along the Auburn Trail as part of the amenity built by the developers of the Whole Foods Plaza at no expense to taxpayers, although those certainly do help in alerting traffic to the presence of pedestrians. They're pedestrian activated, but even there, not everybody knows what they mean. So I do think, and Westfall is a county road, so it's something that I have had some discussions with the county executive's office about funding for such things. I know the county DOT is aware of the issue, but I absolutely think that getting those flashing beacons pedestrian activated at that location, there's another one on Westfall that would connect to the Evans Farm neighborhood to help those students at Evans Farm get to the high school. There are a couple of other crossings of county roads. I would love to see the county make this a county-wide traffic safety initiative. But I'd also love to see a public information initiative so that even today, before the beacons, are in a position to be considered, that people understand that at a crosswalk, the person on a bicycle or the person walking has the right of way. Cars should stop. So, but I do appreciate the communication. More to follow on that. Finally, we heard from some residents in the Evans Farm neighborhood, And there is a packet of materials that those that residents from Evans Farm submitted, and as I had indicated previously, are being introduced into the record of this board meeting. So we have a motion to receive and file all of those items. Is there any further comment on any of them?
And the Evans Farm issue will be taken up at our next public safety meeting, Bill, as you've indicated, on August 9th.
Great, thank you. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. As I mentioned earlier, Councilmember Wilt could not be with us tonight, but she divvied out some of her reporting. So Christine, do you have?
I do. I have the minutes from the July 20th meeting of the Community Services Committee. The Parks Department provided an update, letting us know that park crews have rebuilt the East River Road trailhead. They noted that as bollards do not impede access, park staff is evaluating ways to discourage ATV and dirt bike use on the Highland Crossing Trail. The Corbett's Glen Trail maintenance for the season is underway. The Parks Department has installed 370 feet of packed stone dust on the north end of the trail to improve accessibility. The Corbett's Glen parking lot was closed while material was being brought in and crews were working, but full access has been restored as of July 26th. In Buckland Park, lights in the parking lot have been changed to LED fixtures, marking further progress on the town's sustainability efforts. And as was noted on the side, with those fixtures in place, there will likely not be a need to climb high on any ladders to replace any lights in that parking lot for a long time to come. The Parks Department reported on the July 4th festivities, noting that they proceeded well with light crowds until about 7:30 in the evening and increased crowds during the fireworks show. And that was after 2 years of adjusted scheduling. So we're getting closer to the full-on festivities that we had prior to the beginning of the pandemic. During the budgeting process, the Parks Department will be seeking to increase the firework budget for next year to allow for a more impressive and prolonged display. And vendors at the event were all very happy with the day, and we anticipate having them back next year while supplementing with a few more. So stay tuned. The Recreation Department reports that summer camps are going very well with expanded capacity at the French Road Elementary School site. Recreation staff continue to take measures to ensure camper and staff safety during the extremely hot days, keeping everyone hydrated and in the worst of it, indoors on the hottest point in the day. The Bands at Buckland Summer Concert Series has begun, and all shows have been very well attended thus far. I can attest to that myself, having attended Wamba African Drumming last night. Saw the Supervisor and many others from the community there. It was a great show. The Brighton Town Hall pool is opened and has been busy so far. Despite regional ongoing lifeguard shortages, programming at our pool is proceeding smoothly with minor hiccups and exceptions along the way. And we appreciate the community's patience when we have had to close the pool on short notice. New programs set up with new senior recreation staff have full registration, and we're excited to get those started in the coming weeks. Due to staff being on leave within the department, the summer program coverage has been challenging, but senior programs are still going strong. The Parks and Recreation departments did host a feasibility study open house on Thursday, July 21st regarding the future of the Parks and Recreation facilities. Related, Brookside space allocation conversations continue, and the community garden is, according to the minutes, growing well. The winter farmers market update is brief. Site work continues. No additional news on that matter. The Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board is currently at 13 members. 4 community members will not renew their positions at the conclusion of their terms. Our DEI director, Miriam Moore-Burt, will begin to officially recruit for new members in the fall. And the plan moving forward is to continue with a subcommittee structure to benchmark progress in the 6 priority action categories. Regarding community choice and community solar aggregation, the timeline has been accelerated to get a plan in place for continuing the community choice program in the coming year. And the town is continuing to work with partners in the administration of the program. The the climate, help me here for a moment. I'm blanking on the
Climate action plan?
no, well, the CEC CEC is
Oh,
are my initials,
clean
but
clean energy community.
and that's my brain gets a little bit of a hiccup there because I'm like, what is it referring to me for? CEC? Oh, so thank you. So the clean energy community priority actions and the sustainability funds update was presented to the committee. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has provided new grant opportunities for EV stations with deadlines for applications due this September, and the town will pursue those. The Public Works Department is considering relocating the current EV station to allow for town fleet use of the existing station while installing additional fee per charge model stations at the current site. And the relocation of the existing station would not be included in grant funding, so we would not have to identify an alternative funding, or I'm sorry, so we would have to identify an alternative funding source to make that change. The overall plan is to add more stations at Town Hall while also considering park locations. The Heat Smart Monroe Community Campaign scoping document is being revised, and we plan to start hosting community forums related to that in the fall. And pollinator gardens, which are to be funded by the sustainability funds. We're seeking potential locations or seeking locations, and the potential locations are Deerfield Woods and the Monroe Avenue GIGP as possible places to plant pollinator gardens, since the goal is for the pollinator garden installation to have a positive budget impact to the town with regard to mowing contracts. The matter of the Urban League of Rochester, ESL, and Town of Brighton First-Time Home Buyers Program initiative. Conversations with ESL are ongoing. ESL is willing to fund a study of the community to see if a tax abatement funded by ESL would benefit the town. They are also willing to do an equity-based program with the town based on discussions of further options. The Adopt a Site program is currently dormant, no update this month. But Hopper, the community bike share, brief update, Town Hall and 12 Corners are the still the only 2 stations in Brighton. Potential sites on private property are still in the works, in discussion. We're very happy to report that the Town Hall station is one of the highest use stations in all of the Hopper service area. So keep riding those bikes. And that is all for old business. In new business, we had a presentation from Adam Eaton, the Executive Director of the Rochester Artist Collaborative. He is proposing to launch a Bottles for Artists fundraising plan. And is beginning to look into the possibilities of partnering with local communities. The artists are all local. The group has received grant funding to fully subsidize women artists' studio time. They are looking to expand their local art programs and began the Bottles for Artists as a fundraising opportunity for the program. In partnership, it would involve collecting bottles and cans as an ongoing fundraising stream. The format is still in discussion, large or small. The partners are also still in discussion. Brighton is one of the potential partners, and possible drop-off locations were under discussion at the meeting. So that is an evolving possibility for a sustainable program that also supports the arts in the region. And the last item of business was council member on your corner. You may remember that pre-COVID, we hosted a tent at the farmers market every couple of weeks where community members had the opportunity to connect with us in the shade under the tent and talk about any matter that came to mind. And we also had a few themes going. We are looking to relaunch that program shortly, so stay tuned. Upcoming events, everybody will be very happy to hear that the makeup date for the semi-annual secured document shredding has been set. It is this Sunday, from 9 a.m. to noon in the Brighton Highway Department parking lot. The semi-annual electronics recycling and secured document shredding event in the fall is also confirmed. That is Saturday, October 15th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Highway Department. And the Drug Enforcement Agency National Pharmaceutical Take Back event is slated for Saturday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing. And the next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be Wednesday, August 17th at 9:30 a.m. at Brookside Recreation Center.
Thank you, Christine. Finance, Jason.
Yes, Bill, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, July 20th. The two items that appear on tonight's town board agenda were discussed in committee and will be discussed and voted on further down our agenda tonight. Also, there were two items of discussion. First was to review the hiring plan for the Justice Court to replace Deputy Court Clerk Sandy Jonas, who is retiring on September 9th of this year. No actions needed at this time. And when a candidate is selected, Lisa Pavlovich, who is our court administrator, will return to the Finance Committee to appoint the candidate. The other matter was just due to some scheduling glitch regarding our September meetings. There was an error in the town board scheduling, meeting scheduling for the month of September. So our town board meetings will be on September 14th and September 28th, the second and fourth Wednesday as per usual. And then the Finance Committee will meet the Tuesday of the week prior. We'll be going back after Labor Day to our regular schedule. The Tuesday of the week prior to our town board meeting, we will meet at 3:30 in the afternoon. But for now, as per our next meeting, which will be, we're still on our summer schedule. So our next meeting of the Finance Committee will be on Wednesday, August 3rd. We meet at 8:30 in the morning in the main auditorium at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks very much, Jason. Next, Public Safety Committee. Chris.
Thanks, Bill. The Public Safety Committee has not met since our last town board meeting, and our next meeting is scheduled, as we discussed, for August 9th at 8 o'clock in the auditorium at Town Hall. And the public is invited, and we look forward to the discussion on Evans Farm and the Talmudic Institute.
I want to make it clear, it's a discussion of traffic safety.
That is our purview. It's the impact on traffic safety in the neighborhood.
Thanks, Chris. Finally, Christine, Public Works.
Everybody will be very happy to know that this is brief. Public Works has not met since the last town board meeting. The next meeting will be Tuesday, August 2nd, 9 a.m. at Town Hall. If you have matters that you wish to see on the agenda or want any other information about the committee, you can check the website at townofbrighton.org/publicworkscommittee. And that is all.
Thanks, Christine. New business, reading and approval of claims. Jason.
Yes, earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $2,648,852.95. Notable claims include, and we'll start with the big one, to Faith Temple Church in the amount of $1,799,706.29, representing final payment for the land purchase and other prorated closing costs and credits for the land over on Westfall Road. Also to the City of Rochester, in the amount of $29,400.44, representing payment to the City of Rochester for 2021 2% foreign fire tax for the Rochester Fire Department. Also to the Depository Trust Company in the amount of $217,380, representing the annual payment for the 2017, 2018, and 2021 serial bonds for principal and interest for equipment and road projects. And of that amount, $200,000 was for principal. Also to Lloyd Mechanical Company in the amount of $20,791.68, representing partial payment for the restroom upgrade project in the library. And finally, to the New York State Comptroller in the amount of $22,101.25, representing payment for June 2022 court fines and fees collected. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Chris?
Chris did.
Okay. That big, nearly $1.8 million is being approved tonight because I am very, very pleased that we are scheduled now to close on the purchase of those 44 plus acres that Faith Church currently owns at the corner of Winton and Westfall Road. Obviously, the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance is on the immediate corner, but the open space around that, we will be closing on that purchase. I've heard nothing but real excitement from the community since we announced the agreement with Faith Church that we were finally going to have the opportunity to buy that land and complete what has really been such an important open space area for the town of Brighton. And I'm just as excited, honestly, as folks are out in the community. So Friday's a red letter day for us. And I want to thank Faith Church and Pastor Steve Edlin in particular for working with the town to make this community vision of community-owned green space right here in the center of town a reality. So thank you, Faith Church. Thank you, Pastor Edlin. Is there any further discussion on those claims? If not, can I have a motion to approve them? Oh, we have a motion. Dan, please call the roll. Sorry.
Councilmember DePoncio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine, the next item, please.
The next item is not as exciting as purchasing a lot of land, but it is important. The next item seeks to authorize the supervisor to renew an agreement with Scanx Pipe Services Incorporated for rehabilitation of the sanitary sewer system for a term of 1 year. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
And actually, you know, it is very exciting and it is very important. And this is one part of the very comprehensive program that our sewer department has to maintain the condition of sanitary sewers in the town of Brighton. So I know that's a topic that was discussed tonight, and it's a topic that I know some people want to make sure is, that, that the sanitary sewer system operates well. So this is part of the way we do that, part of our ongoing maintenance of our sewer system. We have a motion and a second to approve that resolution, to approve the contract. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Jason, if you could do this last item, please.
Yes, the next item seeks to accept a grant award from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, PON 4600 pilot program in the amount of $75,000 for permitting software, and authorize the supervisor and or his designee to execute related grant documents, and authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with OpenGov for the purchase of software and services in an amount not to exceed $69,733.33, and authorize the finance department to amend the budget as necessary to fund these services. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second, Christine.
Mike Ion, if you could talk about this grant and the software for a moment, please.
Thank you, Supervisor. Yeah, we currently use a software named Unicity. The firm sunsetted the software, which basically means they do not support it anymore, and it's no longer, it's just basically getting old. It's not very current. I got to thank Everett Garcia, and he went out and found a grant for this software. The grant was for $75,000. It allowed us to go ahead and look for a new piece of software. Also, Ryan was also involved very heavily with that too. So we're very excited about it. Brendan Ryan helped very much pull that together. The OpenGov is very similar to Unicity, but it'll allow us to do a lot more stuff digitally, allow us to process permits digitally. We're looking forward to it, because we know it's going to be a bit of a headache to get it in and operational. But once it's operational, I'm sure it'll be fine. So thank you very much.
Any other comment? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to accept that grant, etc. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, a couple things I want to mention. First, we did, Christine earlier talked about the Bands at Buckland series. We're halfway through it. Next Tuesday night, we will have 8 days a week, which, as you might have guessed from the name, is a Beatles cover band. And they'll be playing one day next week, next Tuesday night at 6:30 out in Buckland Park. There'll be a lot of fun, and we've had great weather every week, and hopefully next week will be no exception. But thank you to the Recreation Department for making those concerts happen every summer. Coming up that same night, next Tuesday night, the concert's at 6:30. From 5 to 8 next Tuesday night is the Brighton Police Department open house. 5 to 8 in the parking lot behind the public safety wing of Town Hall, as well as inside the public safety wing. That'll be an opportunity for community members to engage with members of the Brighton Police Department, as well as representatives from other agencies, both Brighton agencies as well as agencies with a broader jurisdiction. It's always very much of a family-friendly event. Kids really enjoy a lot of the interactive opportunities, and of course, just the opportunity to interact with not only our police officers, but fire, ambulance workers as well. So it's a great opportunity. It's very much an integral part of the Brighton Police Department's community policing program. Again, next Tuesday night, August 2nd, from 5 to 8 p.m. We're wrapping up July in the Rochester area. That means we are wrapping up Pride Month. And I was really pleased with the ceremony that we had here on the front steps of Town Hall on Friday, July 15th, celebrating Pride, celebrating the LGBTQ plus community, and specifically honoring Thomas Warfield, who is the director of dance at RIT and does so much in so many different ways to bring the arts not only to the RIT community, but to the community as a whole. He has also been a tireless advocate for rights for the LGBTQ plus community. And we need those advocates today more than ever. So celebrating Pride is always a fun event, but it also has a serious side to it. The next day, Saturday, walking in the parade, the annual Pride Parade, the best parade in Rochester every year. So much fun going down Park Avenue. The crowds were so big that they were, cascading into the street. A lot of people from Brighton were there cheering to see not only me, but other town employees and town elected officials in the parade, standing up for the LGBTQ plus community. There were Brighton residents from the community, as well as many, many allies. I do want to thank Miriam Moore-Burt, our Chief Diversity Officer, for organizing that great event that we had here on Friday the 15th at Town Hall, honoring Thomas Warfield. That's all I have at the moment. Ken, matters of the town attorney.
Supervisor, I just have two matters of litigation that I'd like to discuss in executive session following.
We will do that. Thank you very much. Matters of the town clerk. All righty. Matters of the town board. Hearing none, then can I have a motion? Well, first, I'll just say our next meeting will be held on August 10th. I do not anticipate that we will be coming back into public session after this executive session. So we look forward to seeing you then on August the 10th, here again remotely. And can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters of litigation?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Thank you to Jesse and Allie, our interpreters. We appreciate it. Have a great evening, everybody, and we'll see you on the 10th. Good night. Stay safe.